Young Philly was arguably the ultimate British social media starboy, building a large body of work in multiple different artistic endeavours. From comedy to acting to music, Young Philly was well on his way to becoming a multifaceted mainstream artist. So how did he go from one of the biggest YouTubers and creators in the UK to being accused of heinous crimes with victims and losing his entire reputation overnight? In order to tell the full story of Young Philly's demise, we need to go back. Young Philly, aka Andreas Felipe Valencia Barrantinos, was born on August 6, 1995 in Cali, Colombia. At the age of 2, he moved to London with his mother and sister, seeking refuge and better opportunities. The family settled in various parts of southeast London, before finally making Orpington in Bromley their final home. However, raising 2 kids as a single mother, it wasn't easy for his mum.
It's really hard. Being a single mom with 3 little children, sometimes there is nothing to put on the table. And there was a point that he couldn't understand the reason why I wasn't with his dad. I had to send him back home. When he came back, he was like more mature, more like he appreciated me more. Do you understand? So he started growing, and now he realized that I did my best as a single mom.
With his mum's help, he attended Coinsborough College, where he completed his secondary education. However, Philly's real passion was football. During his adolescence, he was apparently on trial at Charlton and also briefly returned to Colombia after year 11 to pursue his potential with a team in Barranquilla.
I can confidently say that I tried my absolute best to make it as a pro. And it didn't happen for me, bro.
What was the reason, you think?
Just I wasn't destined to be down that lane. I don't know, maybe...
You think you're good enough?
Yeah, for certain levels, I think I was, 100%. I played in and out of good standards. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. What's the highest level you made in the UK?
I didn't sign for Charlton, but I was there for I was on the trial for 2 weeks, then it got extended for another 2 weeks, and then it got extended for longer. So I was there in total for just over 6 weeks. And yeah, I played with some good players. Oh, I wonder if anyone that I played with made it pro. What's the guy that managed Brighton at one point?
What, Gus Poyet?
Yes, Gus Poyet. I played with his son, Diego.
Is it?
I'm sure Diego made it.
Well, you played with him though, yeah?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That was that. Yeah, bro, man was a baller. Yeah.
With his fate not falling in favour of the football gods, his mindset shifted into content creation. In 2013, he propelled himself into the online world with a YouTube channel. A lot of his earlier work was in collaboration with friend and fellow content creator Chunkz. A lot of these earlier videos have now been deleted, but the chemistry displayed between the duo created a wave of heat behind them. For years, their videos on the wall of comedy channels like the dating shows and public interviews, along with their own personal channels, was creating a rightfully earned tsunami of success. Chunkz and Philly are moving like the YouTube ads and deck. You lot need to collab more, mad chemistry. While they both had the talent for being a presence on camera, Chunkz and Philly didn't want to just be seen as YouTubers. In 2017, Philly ventured into music, releasing the song Take Time that would allow him to flex his musical talents. His single La Pela would be released a year later, which received positive feedback, further establishing his presence in the music scene. Beyond music, Philly's charisma led to appearances on various TV platforms. By 2018, he featured in numerous BBC shows, several of which he hosted, demonstrating his adaptability and broad appeal. By 2021, Chunkz and Philly won a Mobo Award for the Best Media Personality, underlying the impact the pair both have made online. This flourishing body of work was the catalyst to working within the mainstream media. Participation in events like Soccer Aid 2020 and Celebrity Bake Off in 2022, as well as co-hosting the Philly and Harry Show on Channel 4 in 2023, solidified himself as a reliable asset to productions. Philly was headfirst in the mainstream entertainment world, and was one of the go-to guys for connecting brands with the online and mainstream space. It's honestly quite hard to put in perspective how successful this guy was becoming. His PR work rate was honestly insane, and was working with pretty much every big brand imaginable. From the FA, ASOS, Heinz, Foot Asylum, Gymshark, the guy loved a payday, and he was a brand's marketing dream. However, it was also this broad appeal and fake over-enthusiasm that he sometimes displayed that made people find him kind of annoying.
Man said she looked like a transformer. Oi, nah. Man said, oh my day.
In January 2024, it was announced that Young Philly was going on tour in Australia in September and October across 4 days. A month later, on the 16th of February, Philly released a song with rapper H titled The Grey, which further cemented himself as someone who wanted his fingers in multiple pies. Outside of the mainstream space, in March 2024, young Philly and streamer Angry Ginge founded a pro clubs team on livestream called Girth and Turf, which would go on to become a viral phenomenon. Recruiting big celebrities and sports stars like Wayne Rooney, Luke Littler and H helped streams of the games get clipped up for their banter.
You playing like a game or something and you said I'm going to come round and knock you out to someone?
It was on Girth and Turf.
What is that?
It's mad. It's a bunch of streamers who have set up a FIFA team. So I know H, it's the rapper H,
yeah.
and he said they've got this team, going to come in and have a couple of games, so nothing else to do, so joined the team. It's hilarious. People who are subscribing and watching us play, and I think the last game we played there was like 85,000 people, so more than Old Trafford.
And what did you do? Threaten to knock someone out?
No, that was one of the lads we were playing with.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I was just joking, yeah.
All right.
On the 27th of September, the first date of Philly's Australia tour rolled round. He was performing at Bar 1 nightclub in Hillary's, a coastal suburb of Perth. It was this night following his performance that he allegedly sexually assaulted a woman in her 20s in his hotel room. The following day, Philly continued his tour dates of Melbourne, Sydney and the Gold Coast. However, on the 8th of October 2024, Philly was arrested in Brisbane by Queensland Police in connection to the alleged incident in Perth. The following day, Philly was extradited to Perth, where he was then formally charged with 4 counts of sexual penetration without consent, 3 counts of assault occasioning bodily harm, and 1 count of impeding a person's normal breathing or circulation by applying pressure to the neck. The following day, on October 10th, Philly then appeared in Perth Magistrates Court, where a bail of 100,000 Australian dollars or £52,000 was granted with strict conditions, including remaining in Western Australia, no contact with the alleged victim, no discussions of the case on social media, and surrendering his passport. In the immediate aftermath to the news breaking out about Philly, it sent shockwaves across the industry and internet alike. Young Philly is done. Do you know how legitimate the allegations have to be for people to extradite and arrest you? And you have a current song about being too tempted. Yikes. Young Philly is the definition of you never truly know who you're watching/supporting. Actually so disappointed if this turns out to be true, and credit to the victim coming forward. Nah, I think young Philly showed everyone who he was. People just turn a blind eye to it. It was in this immediate reaction to the news that people began creating clip compilations of Philly throughout his career around women and his behaviour towards them.
Okay, look, monkey see, monkey do. Go crazy.
You choking her? What you trying to kill her?
It wasn't like a choke, it was more like a... Know what I mean?
What else? Yeah, see, look.
What?
Yo, okay.
Monkey see, monkey do, bro.
I'm gonna let you marry my family, but yeah.
Why? I'm a good man. What's wrong with me?
No, I have too many stories. Anyway, yeah.
What stories?
Because Philly was so integrated into the creator scene, it saw a ripple effect of his friends having to somewhat address the situation without directly discussing the ongoing investigation and case. One of the first people having to talk about it was Philly's Girth and Turf co-founder, Angry Ginge, the following day after it had been announced in the news.
But no, chat. Honestly, I can't comment on legal proceedings. I don't know anything more. I know the exact same as you. I know what's been put out in the news. I don't know anything more. Please don't think I do. And it is what it is. We have to just wait for the final verdict. You will all make your own opinions and whatever, and that's fine. But I think the next big question, GNT. If you want my honest answer, I don't know its future at the minute. We'll see what we can do, but at the minute, I don't know. And that's all I'm going to say.
One online commenter stated, "Let's be honest, Ginge clearly had no idea and he's in a shit position here. He's dealt with it as best as he could. Well done. I mean, it's a difficult situation for him. From what I know, he's a genuine guy and is probably shocked that arguably his closest friend would do this. But the situation is too serious to expand further, so I understand him not saying much." As the days ticked on, brand after brand Philly was associated with made sure to firmly separate themselves from young Philly. The amount of money this guy would have lost overnight is literally insane. The FA cancelled a cooking show that would have featured England players, his brand deal with ASOS got deleted, his Heinz sauce got removed from shelves, his dating show with Gymshark deleted, and people even began writing articles giving advice to brands on how to deal with the Philly situation. It became problematic for other creators as well, because Philly was featured in so much content on other people's channels throughout his entire career. The Sidemen episode versus 20 Women was removed, and anything that could be remotely seen as aging poorly was pulled from platforms. was. On the 13th of October 2024, 5 days before Chunkz was meant to do a live podcast with Philly, he broke his silence about the situation to his fans in a brief video message, underlying that he can't really speak about anything.
Yes, my peoples, like everyone, I've heard the reports coming out of Australia. Whilst I understand many of you want my reaction on it, as this is an ongoing court case, I hope you guys can understand that I can't and won't be commenting on it publicly. So yeah, I've just come on here to basically let you know the reasons as to why I can't. Love.
On the 1st of May 2025, Chunkz and Philly's podcast producer and former co-host of the True Geordie podcast, Lawrence McKenna, appeared on Angry Ginge's podcast and discussed what it was like when they found out that their friend had been arrested.
Well, I know for a fact that I'd finished my stream. I was laying in bed at I think 4 a.m. and then somebody messaged me, have you seen the news? And I'm thinking, oh fucking hell, what have I done here? What's going on? And then I saw that, and I can't describe the feeling. It was a video where he was handcuffed walking through the airport.
Right, so that was the video that I saw.
Yeah.
And I just remember, I just felt so cold.
Even now it makes me
like it in my life. I can't describe how it felt, because not only is that now someone I call a friend, but I also look at it and I think that's someone I've grown up fucking idolizing, right?
Right.
To then be able to even start Girth and Turf with him, be in YouTube videos with him, play in the side of a charity match with him, get to know the person that I've grew up watching, to then see that, like, I can't put into words how much it hurts, and like just to see what he's been accused of and stuff like that is, you can't put it into words.
And also how confusing it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird to see your, like, whatever you want to, friend or whatever you call it, in a context you've never seen them before.
Yeah. That's the big one for me as well.
And for all of that to be like gone, and for other people, the surreal thing for me was watching other people be happy about it.
Yeah, that was.
And people being like, oh, the downfall of, or whatever, and just thinking again, like, there are humans here, there are families around both.
They've got a mum,
all
they've
these
got
parts,
sisters, like
mums, sisters. There's again people in the accuser's side who are getting abused.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things, and you're expected to come out with some sort of like really well thought out statement that goes, you know, well, whatever. You're meant to say something that sums up the whole situation and will sum up the whole situation forever. You can't do that.
In standard internet fashion, there were people waiting on what all of Philly's friends had to say about the situation and made memes about the outfall. Young Philly's list of charges is so long. That poor woman experienced an actual nightmare, and people were just concerned about playing gotcha with his famous friends. The lack of empathy is harrowing. On November 17th, 2024, while on bail, Philly hit the headlines once again after he was caught driving at 158 kilometers an hour in a 100-kilometer-hour zone on Roe Highway in Perth. This subsequently led to a charge of reckless driving. A few days later, Philly appeared in court once more, where he admitted to the reckless driving charge. He was ultimately handed a $1,000 Australian fine and a 6-month driving disqualification, amongst all of the other shit he had going on. On March 11th, 2025, Philly appeared at court once more with a grown-out beard and pleaded not guilty to all 8 charges related to the alleged September 2024 incident. However, a few weeks after pleading not guilty, on the 24th of March, UK news outlets reported that in the summer of 2024, a British woman reported to the police that Philly had allegedly assaulted her in his hotel room after a performance in Magaluf, a town on the west coast of the Spanish island of Mallorca. The woman stated that Philly forced himself on her in his hotel room after his nightclub performance. She reported the incident to British police several weeks after returning to the UK from her vacation. British police then contacted the Spanish Civil Guard, who passed on details of the allegations to an investigating court in Palma. Sources from UK outlets at the time also reported that a magistrate asked Australian authorities to question Philly on Spain's behalf in the midst of this ongoing case. In early June, Chunkz announced that he was rebranding the Chunkz and Philly show into a standalone podcast called The Chunkz Show, which in itself was a sign that Philly wouldn't be returning to any project with Chunkz, probably ever, especially considering the following week after this podcast announcement, Australian prosecutors then added 2 extra charges to his case. So, with Philly pleading not guilty and a whole raft of charges against him, the trial was scheduled for the following year in July 2026. However, during this year to build his defence, Philly was posting on social media almost like nothing had ever happened. In September 2025, he was granted permission to fly back to London, where he could be seen posting random stories. During his time back in the UK, he was also spotted at the gym hanging out with Chunkz, which, to fans, seemed significant, as it meant that Chunkz had still been in contact with his friend and talking to him while the case was ongoing. But the cringy Snapchat posts didn't stop, and to a lot of people were a sign that Philly was having a bit of a breakdown, because they were literally so random.
Not for you,
By January 2026, Philly had to fly back to Australia, where Snapchat showed him travelling back to prepare to face the music. At the same time in January, Chunkz scrapped his podcast completely. The channel wasn't even left up, and every single episode was taken down, making it yet another podcast that producer Lawrence had seen crumble before his eyes. And if you're interested, I have actually made multiple videos about the drama surrounding Lawrence and his podcasts and True Geordie. So if you're interested, make sure to check out those videos after watching this video. However, after the podcast was taken down, people began pointing to a number of clips that showed Chunkz asking weird questions. Most notably, an episode with KSI, where he asked him who his least favourite Sidemen member is.
Least favourite?
Someone you don't get along with the most, or maybe you're not as close to. There's nothing wrong with that.
You must name it.
You can say Vic, bro, don't worry, man.
Nah, because I actually like Vic.
Fairs.
Like Vic is cool. And if anything, he's got cooler over the years.
That is true.
No, but he literally has. No, because
Chunkz is so odd and snaky with these questions, straight after letting Maya talk down his boys and not defending them as well. Chunkz is on fire with these L's lately. Ever since this, Chunkz has remained pretty low-key, and hasn't really appeared in the public eye, apart from his appearances in Beta Squad. In June 2026, a month before the trial was set to begin, just like the Chunkz Show, the Chunkz and Philly Show was now also deleted from YouTube completely, privatising all of the videos on the channel, which led a lot of people to believe that this was a hint that the case was a foregone conclusion. Probably means Philly will get the legal hammer, and Chunkz' legal team informed him it's best to close this chapter completely. It was actually the Chunkz and Philly Show that a lot of the clips after his arrest went viral, mainly because they haven't aged well at all.
Naked! What you gonna do? I took a pic! I took a pic!
Eat ass, but I like to sniff it. Man, can you at least stand up, please?
Can I stand up?
Yeah, just stand there. We're going to play a game then.
Oh, crying out loud.
So it's either side.
Clips like these also led Chunkz to gain heat for being the closest to him and not being able to judge his character, with some clips seeming like Chunkz already kind of knew what kind of person Philly was and foreshadowed the whole thing.
If shit hits the flipping fan, everything goes left. You've lost everything. Right?
God forbid, hay poder en el nombre de Jesús.
God forbid. Who's the first person that you're bedding saying, I'm going to come check you out, can you help me?
You.
Genuinely?
Yeah.
I know,
Do you get
but
what I'm saying?
unfortunately, because of your track record, I'm not going to shout.
Now, going into the trial, it was reported that the police felt like they had an extremely strong case against Philly. That included CCTV footage and photo evidence, which helps to prove the allegations were true. On the 20th of July 2026, the trial officially began, and during the first day, information about the victim's allegations was shared in court, and subsequently revealed to the public.
Okay, so my team is directly in the courthouse in Perth whilst the Young Philly trial has begun, and I've got access to a significant amount of court notes that I have been writing, so I want to go through everything for what has happened on day one of the Young Philly trial. The woman has been confirmed to be at the age of 19 at the time when this event allegedly took place, and she met Young Philly at an event and she was allowed into the VIP lounge of the club they met at. She was a very big fan of him, and Young Philly said to her, allegedly, "You're coming with me," and his bodyguard took her phone. She thought that she was going to a party with him, but he took her to the Intercontinental Hotel on Hay Street. The alleged victim expressed that they did have consensual sex, but prosecution state he became very aggressive, biting her on her cheek, biting her on her neck, and on her breast, and she had told him to stop, but he continued. The alleged victim began crying, but he spat in her mouth and allegedly raped her anally 3 times. She was assessed at medical center, then a sexual assault referral center as well. The alleged victim, before the assault, posted on Snapchat that she jokingly wanted to marry him, she wanted to be rich and famous with him. She was 19 at the time, I want to repeat. He allegedly slapped her across the face several times during the assault and demanded she repeat after him, "I am Philly's whore." Just want to add to this video that some of the derogatory words that Philly was asking and forcing her to say allegedly was, "I am Philly's whore," and for her to say, "I am a fat pig," and for her to say, "I am fat, I am fat." So photos taken at the sexual assault referral center were handed to the jury, and police swabs were also taken as well. When they met at the VIP lounge, he was touching her and she said, "I'm not that type of girl." She then proceeded to get into the car with young Philly's bodyguard, and I believe 6 to 7 other men were also in this van together. The jury heard that young Philly held his hands tightly around her neck, slapped her, told her to say derogatory words. She refused and cried. He then allegedly raped her, then told his bodyguard that she was no good in bed. There was very hard biting, and she said multiple times, "You're hurting me," but he simply did not care. The bite on her breast was so hard it broke her skin, and she had to go to the hospital to get a tetanus shot. She appeared by video link, and she said, "My face was beaten." She tried to cover her face, but his grip was unfortunately too strong, she described. After the alleged assault, she went to her cousins needing ice packs, and images were shown to the court and the jury. She messaged him on Instagram to say, "I left my keys in the room," but admitted to court that there were no keys and that she just wanted him to see what he did to her, but there was no response from him. What I thought was interesting that there was no opening statement, guys, from the defense lawyer. The bodyguard would take her phone and then return it, and he was referred to as Mo.
As the trial entered its second day, the cross-examination began, with the court shifting into looking at forensic evidence, witness credibility, and police protocol. The jury was apparently shown graphic police photographs documenting extensive bruising to the victim's face and neck, alongside deep bite marks on the right breast. However, Philly's defense lawyer, David Edwardson KC, went on the offensive, attempting to dismantle the prosecution's narrative, arguing that the encounter was intensely passionate and mutually enthusiastic, rather than a forced assault. You see, the woman testified that Philly had put his hands down the back of her pants and told her, "You're coming home with me tonight." However, the defense put forward clips that the woman had recorded that night that showed her claiming that she didn't mind being touched. The prosecution then continued to build its case, laying out the timeline inside room 217.
Was brought to tears on the witness stand today. She told the jury she was crying from the pain during the assault too, but says that didn't stop young Philly, who continued violating her.
Today, the defence lawyer put to the complainant she had told a pack of lies and had not been assaulted by Mr. Barrientos. But the complainant said she was telling the truth and was quiet and calm during the alleged assault because she, quote, "did not want to be or assaulted again."
The court heard that after the alleged assault, Philly ordered himself a Wagyu burger via room service, and was then apparently asked by the woman for chips to go. When she attempted to leave, a member of his entourage apparently entered the room, where she overheard Philly demeaningly tell his minder that she was not good in bed, before allegedly grabbing her breasts and asking him how good are her boobs. Philly's defense team then countered this by focusing on forensic and toxicology results, calling in a forensic scientist to testify that standard laboratory testing failed to detect male DNA linking Philly to the alleged victim, which to Philly's team created significant doubt. Medical evidence was also presented to the jury that showed the woman's blood sample tested positive for MDMA on the night of the incident. They also defended the confiscation of her phone outside the hotel room as standard celebrity security protocol to prevent private photos from leaking, rather than an attempt to isolate or entrap her. The defense then called the owner of Bar 1 nightclub, Malcolm Pages, to the stand to question the victim's motivation. Malcolm testified that throughout the night, the alleged victim approached him 4 or 5 times begging for VIP access, and even sent direct messages to the nightclub's official Instagram page asking to meet Philly. This was accompanied by CCTV footage that showed the woman, Philly, and his entourage getting into a white minivan outside the club, which they argued proved that she was eager to be with him. During the final part part of the cross-examination, Philly's lawyer looked into the lead police investigator, where he highlighted critical oversights in the investigation, such as never taking down or interviewing the Uber driver who picked up the alleged victim, never identifying the person the alleged victim was on the phone to in the lobby shortly after leaving Philly's room, and failing to take an official formal statement from the entourage member who was inside the hotel room following the incident. Now, on day 6 of the trial, Philly took to the witness box to defend himself and tell his side of the story for the first time. Maintaining his innocence on all 10 charges, he insisted that the interaction was entirely consensual and that, quote, the vibes were good.
On the witness stand, he recalled meeting a Perth fan 10 years younger than him after performing at Bar One nightclub in Hillary's in September 2024. He fancied her and complimented her before inviting her back to his hotel. He says the pair had consensual sex, that he gave her a love bite involving teeth, and that she never indicated any discomfort or pain. The state says young Philly slapped, bit, choked and the complainant after the pair initially engaged in consensual sex. Last week, the woman cried in court as images of her bruised and broken skin were shown to the jury. Mr. Barrientos today maintained she had an amazing personality and seemed to enjoy his presence. He said his arrest came as a complete surprise. A raft of new security measures have been implemented at the trial today. There's now a courtroom for accredited media, defence lawyers and people connected to the trial, and there's a second courtroom for everyone else. People there have to prove that their phone is turned off on entry after the judge discovered content on social media that broke the laws of the court. Young Philly's security guard was the first person to see the woman after the alleged incident. He stood by his boss today and told the jury she had no visible injuries when she left.
The following day after Philly testified, both sides delivered their final closing arguments to the jury. In these remarks, the prosecutor, Daniel Clark, branded Philly as an entitled man using his moderate degree of fame to violate a young fan who meant nothing to him.
State Prosecutor Danielle Clark today said that one-night stands are not illegal, but she said the problem kind of arises when there is no discussion about a person's sexual boundaries, limitations or no-go zones. In her closing today, Ms. Clark said, she accused young Philly of being an entitled man who violated a young, naive fan in the most intrusive way possible. She spoke about a power imbalance between the pair, and she said what began as consensual sex quickly escalated into sexual violence and a non-consensual nightmare. Yes, she said the complainant was very compelling in her evidence. She said that even though she was pressed multiple times during cross-examination, her story did not change at all. And when talking about Mr. Barrientos, she said that during cross-examination yesterday, he was evasive and often relied on saying, I don't remember, when being pressed with some questions.
On Wednesday the 29th of July, after hours of deliberation, the jury of 12 men and women notified the judge that they were unable to reach a unanimous verdict on the charges against Philly. With the trial deadlock, the judge informed the jury that the court would accept a majority verdict, meaning at least 10 of the 12 jurors had to agree on a decision. For everyone involved in the trial, the tension was palpable, but as deliberations stretched into Thursday, the jury ultimately returned with a mixed verdict. On Friday, it was finally revealed that Philly was found not guilty of 3 counts of sexual penetration without consent, but the jury couldn't come to a verdict on the other 3. However, he was found guilty for 2 counts of assault occasioning bodily harm, meaning he's due to appear back in court on the 21st of July to be sentenced. Now, when looking at what this actually means legally, the range of potential outcomes for assault convictions under Western Australian law is kind of broad. Penalties can range from a community-based order, a suspended prison sentence, or intensive supervision order, all the way up to immediate imprisonment. So, while he's managed to avoid convictions on the most severe charges, he is by no means out of the woods, and prison time remains a real possibility. Essentially, he could avoid prison, but he could also be sent to prison. The other angle to this is that Philly's life has been essentially put on hold for 2 years, waiting for this thing to go to court. From the prosecution side, securing convictions on the assault charges ensures that the 2-year investigation wasn't entirely in vain. But from Philly's perspective, the ordeal is far from over. Even with the main trial concluding, he still faces the looming uncertainty possibility of sentencing, potential retrials, and the ongoing investigation regarding the allegations in Spain. He's stuck in legal limbo in Australia, unable to move on with his life. But the fact that he has been found guilty of 2 charges regardless doesn't exactly help his career prospects moving forward. After the trial, Philly's dad spoke to the media where he stated that he was happy after the verdict.
Sir, is there anything you'd like to say about the verdict?
I cannot talk.
How has your son reacted to that? How have you reacted to it?
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Thank you to God, you know, everything for God.
It's a good outcome.
Yeah.
Alongside this reaction, the CCTV footage of the night in question was also released to the press.
Andres Barrientos showed no emotion as the verdicts were handed down, but hung his head for several minutes following the decision. Some of his loved ones broke down in tears in court. Today, the court released CCTV of the artist, his entourage and the 20-year-old woman leaving Bar One nightclub and arriving at the Intercontinental Hotel. An hour later, the woman is seen leaving the hotel to catch an Uber. The high-profile trial attracted attention from around the world. Dozens of schoolboys waited outside the court earlier this week to catch a glimpse of the YouTuber. One held a sign that read, "Free Young Philly." The rapper's defence lawyer later told him to put it away.
The judge also scathing of supporters outside holding signs.
The judge has gone ballistic. More important, you could be charged with 10, and most important, you're not actually doing any votes. I really mean, so can you guys take the call away?
At the end of the day, regardless of how the final sentencing plays out, young Philly's status as a mainstream star and internet darling has been utterly shattered. In the creator economy, your entire brand is built on public perception, likability, and commercial trust. Once those are gone, there is very little ground left to stand on, and people have been cancelled for a lot less in the past. The fallout from this case didn't just expose Philly, it sent shockwaves through the UK YouTube scene, forcing brands to scramble, platforms to scrub content, and long-term collaborators to completely distance themselves. Many felt that long before the jury ever stepped into that courtroom, Philly's career was already over. In truth, what happens to Philly next? Only time can tell us. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it's not really a positive one, but it's one that needs to be talked about. If you're new here, make sure to follow me on all of my socials at PhatMemer, like, subscribe, and comment below what you want to see next. As always, I'll see you in the next one.